Okay, welcome back, everybody, to the Madcore Hunter podcast. I'm back this week. I've got Danny. I'm fresh out of the mountains. He's even fresher. So, wanted to get his hunt. He hunted Wyoming this year. Talk with him a little bit. From my understanding, they had a great hunt, and I won't spoil anything. I'll talk to him about it. But Danny, what's going on, man?
Hey, just kind of caught me between a little bit of hunting here. Was successful. Pretty short elk hunt. Been messing around the last couple of days trying to fill archery antelope tag, and it's gun season starts for my archery area or my antelope area tomorrow. It was kind of it's a hard area to bow hunt. It's flat as can be, and you can't get close. But I've been kind of depressed today because gun season starts tomorrow. I've got some decent goats marked on Onyx. This is something I've learned over the last few years that I like to do is I'll find a big buck, mark the area, and he won't be there in the exact same place, but he'll be within a few miles of there. So I've had some luck relocating him. But there is non-resident hunters everywhere today, and season don't start till tomorrow.
Are you gonna try to hunt tonight?
No, I came in. It's actually my birthday, so going to dinner with the family tonight.
Okay. Well,
But
I'm glad you were able to hop on. I know how it is. It's been crazy trying to catch back up myself this week. Me and Dad recorded right before we dropped one for this past week, and trying to play catch up. And it's nice to keep things relative, but it also makes us a scramble. To to get a podcast in, and I mean, technically I could be whitetail hunting Kentucky right now, and Indiana's right around the corner. We need to get stands up, and we still need to go back to Illinois. So it's the busy season's here, man, and like you don't want that to spoil the fun, because this is what we love.
oh yeah, it definitely has been busy. As soon as I got back last Wednesday night, and from North Dakota, and got my stuff put together Thursday morning, and had to take care of insurance crap of all things. First thing in the morning, I had a house policy that was not going to be able to use the same company, so I had to change it. So I had to do it because it's ending tomorrow. So that was some crap to come up in September that I wasn't very happy about, but I got it taken care of, and went down Thursday and got camp set up. Dad had traveled on Wednesday from North Dakota and got down there and got into a spot, and there was some traffic down there, not terrible. There was a lot of people to the north of the area that we usually hunt in. There wasn't anybody particularly in the exact same spot that we normally go, the mountain that we like to hunt. And got all set up Thursday night for going in Friday. So uh, things happened pretty quick, man. It's, another year without horses, and, that's my own fault. Definitely got to do something because, like I said before on the podcast, has been hunting. I mean, going on 20 years with horses or mules, and to now decide that I'm gonna pack them out the whole way on my back has it definitely makes you earn it a little bit more. Um,
Yeah.
Friday, I did listen to your guys' podcast while I was out and about today trying to find some antelope. Sound like you guys had. I know I talked to your dad the other night. Um, Heard you guys were sick, but you had a good hunt. I'd talk to you after you got yours, so it
Dude,
was a
it
good.
was, gosh, I mean, me and Dad kind of went over and we were still feeling it, and I could tell he was during the podcast. But yeah, it was a tough one, dude. And we ran into so many people. And you know how when other areas get closed, and it only takes a couple other younger, ambitious hunters, which, hey, that's what I am, to really start pushing them around. And then you got a couple other guys that, they're every year, and they know the area very well. Between that and for some reason, you usually think, hey, when weather comes in or it gets colder, stuff gets turned on, and we just never saw it. It was a grind, but we talked about ours. it was a blessing. I did kill. I'm not going to sit here and complain, but we had some highs and lows for sure. But let's talk about yours. So you got to the mountain Thursday.
Yep. Thursday night, camped, just setting up tent along the road and stuff, and had caught and slept very comfortably and everything. And I wanted to go in. I wanted to get on the mountain because there you got to walk in mile and a half before you even touch trees. Before you're even into what I would consider being hunting. And didn't get in a crazy hurry. We did get into the mountain, but right at first light. The elk were talking immediately, man. They were right there. They were headed up. We got in on a trail that we've used there and have marked on Onyx. Worked up the ridge and got up to the first part of it and had elk bugling on both sides. So basically, we had a herd on both sides of this ridge that we were heading up. And so, I mean, the action was immediate. It's just know this area, so know where to go. But we had a herd moving on our left. We had a herd on the right. They're going up the same drainages that we expected them to be in. And, my plan was to go up this ridge and go work to the right and basically go to where Obendorf had killed last year. First day in, because it's just a bad spot for getting elk out, and wanted to attack it when I was as fresh as possible.
Right.
We worked up that ridge, and I had a little more action happening on my left side, which was a little abnormal. I mean, there's always elk in there, but it was just not what I was expecting. And we thought it was going to happen right away. The herd sounded like they were going to come over the ridge and work to our right. So we kind of hung up there for a little bit. Wasn't calling too much. We had one or two answer us. We just kind of cow called at first, and they'd answer, but then they just kept getting farther away because they had worked to the ridge and just found out some information that day as we hunted. But they were staying on that side and they worked away from the ridge, so it was a little confusing as to what was going on there. But they just got over a rim and we couldn't hear them very well. So we just continued on up, knowing that there was a saddle way up high, and that was the main place we wanted to get to, and then figure out what we're going to do from there. And we got up there. I ran into a cow and a calf that came over top, and kind of ran into her face on. And I had some cover. When she looked, we met. She saw me as I seen her. But the just funny thing is she didn't overreact. She didn't know. She just caught a little bit of movement, didn't know what it was. I got kneeled down, got Dad stopped, got him down, and they went by at about 100 yards, let them go through, continued on up. There was just a herd on the right side. It sounded like there was one good bull and maybe two other raghorns or something in there. Bugled for a while and got kind of close, and we thought we were going to get in a spot where we could call them, and then we just lost all sound from them. I could hear them walking. They were straight down from us, and that in that drainage itself, it splits off into three other drainages as it's working up. And it's amazing. Those elk were probably only a couple hundred yards away, but once they got on the far right drainage, you couldn't hear them whatsoever. Yeah. Dad's Dad had said they shut up, and I said, I don't think they shut up. I just don't think we hear them. Mm-hmm. And so this other herd, all of a sudden on the left where we're at, we're getting close to the saddle, and on the left, all of a sudden we start hearing bugles again. And I mean, they are worked up. I really don't know. I'd say 4 or 5 at a minimal bulls were bugling on the left. I mean, that day it could have been anywhere from 6 or 7 to 10 bulls on both sides of us working up the mountain at the same time. Okay. But we hit that saddle before everything, and that was the ticket. We were above all the elk, and the wind was coming up. So when we got to that saddle, usually I stay there and hunt that for a while. But the elk to our left was below us, and they were going nuts. And so we bailed off to the left, and I haven't hunted in this spot for years. I kind of dropped in there last year and it was crazy, crazy thick. And at least the way that we came out of it, we had a little open country where we'd ran into a herd of elk last year and just didn't get them close enough. But we bailed off to the left and kept moving in closer and had bugled a little bit. They were being responsive to us, but mostly it was just what was happening with the herd. Most likely a big bull with several cows. And I never got close enough where I could hear the cows, which just told me the big bull was down the hill farther.
Mm-hmm.
But we had, bulls that were chuckling and everything right there by us. And as we got moved in and was trying to get set up to call them, they shut up. Or at least we couldn't hear them anymore. And I just kept thinking they'd moved over the edge or something. And that was why I couldn't hear them. And kind of set up and called, nothing. And it just went dead quiet for a little while. And we just set up, called, nothing. And I went ahead and ate some snacks and stuff. And it's a funny story. I had to have Dad on here, but my dad did a first that he had never done. Is about the time we got up to that saddle, he turned around and looked at me and goes, "I didn't bring any food." He was going to use a pack of my buddy Jordan's, and he had started setting it up, and it was more of a frame pack. And he's like, I don't want to take this pack in. His old pack about needs retired. Anyway, he changed back and got all of his water and everything. I was like, well, lucky for you, it's day one, so I've overly packed and got plenty of food and stuff.
Yeah.
But he was a little nervous about that. But I was like, I think we'll be good. I was like, we might run out if we kill one today, Anyway, we sat there for about an hour and a half. Dad was definitely wanting to continue on, but I'm like, man, if they've bedded, we're above them. The wind's going to be all right all day. And anyhow, I'd say it's probably an hour and a half. And I keep going, man, what do we want to do here? Do we want to go after them? Because if we go after them and bust them out, then we're going to have to climb back up and go to the right, And about the time we're thinking about moving downhill on these one bugles. And it was, I really think what happened because, it was so dark all night long that we had cloud cover. So no, the moon was gone. There was no moon, no stars. And I'm sure they'd been out most of the night. And when they came up, I think they went to sleep and slept for like an hour or two. And it was like, we just kind of bedded down with them. The moment they started talking, we were back in the game because they answered, like we had a bull respond immediately. And I think when I was there, I was trying to doze off for a little bit, but never really fell asleep because like right when I was about ready to fall asleep to rest there for a few minutes, we heard one. And I think because we'd cow called, we had a spike or something come in above us and never blew out of there, but I heard one take off. Never did get eyes on them. But once they started bugling and we started going back in after them, it happened probably pretty quick here. Probably 15 or 20 minutes, we'd moved downhill maybe 100, 200 yards and got into some really open country for that area, which was very abnormal. It was a spot that didn't have the dead pines in it. It was, there were still some dead aspens, but they'd fell, and I could actually shoot 40 or 50 yards. So I was
really, that is surprising.
Yes, yeah, and I was like, this needs to happen here, And I got two bulls bugling, and they're they don't sound giant, but they're chuckling, and that's what's so fooling. Everybody thinks when they hear a chuckle, they think the bull's giant.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you right now, a 2-year-old can do it. It's more of an the bull's excited is when they do it.
Yeah.
So we've leaned into the cow calling because we know that we're on a herd, and I'm trying to make the bull think, that there is a cow with this bull, just to get him brave enough to come in and try to snatch the cow,
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Dad's probably 50 yards to 75 yards behind me uphill. I've moved down. And I'm not, he's bugling. He's raking. I'm not only cow calling if I think I need to. Like
Okay.
if they start to shut up for a second, I'll cow call because I'm closer to the herd too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, right once we got separated about the 50 to 75 yards, and I got down probably within 150 yards of the elk, I can hear one walking up and they're bugling. It sounds like the bull's about ready to pop out. And, I'm all locked up on the bow there and ready. And I see feet. It's coming right at me. And I'm like, man, it needs to cut to my left or right so I'm not shooting frontal.
So were
And
you? I didn't know this trip. Were you holding out for that huge six by? Because I know you say you want to do that every year. And then
yeah,
like this hunt was so good, or were you like, hey, any decent bull I'm taking? What was your process there?
I always want to hold out, but you know how it is. I mean, elk hunting's tough.
It
It's,
is.
it's one of those things when, well, for one thing, I never have first opportunity. That it's usually when I'm hunting with somebody else, I'm trying to get them their elk. So it's abnormal for me to even have this opportunity. Where I mean, me and Dad's hunted a lot, but even then, usually somebody's got a tag, and we're trying to help them. But Dad had to leave. I didn't know this until right before we went elk hunting. Was Dad couldn't stay past like yesterday, like the 23rd. He was needing to leave because I was planning on going with son-in-law Corbin and trying to help him when I got back. So I had to kind of detour plans. But I had told Dad in North Dakota that I really just wanted to kind of kill with a bow this year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't shoot an elk last year, and that was the first time in a long time. But I didn't know it when it was going on. Was I got sick last year, and so I was able to help Obendorf kill. We were with called in that 5x5. He killed it in the same area, and then Zach killed a cow with a gun, and I just I couldn't go after we got Zach's elk out. Zach's elk was about to. I mean, just it done me in. I
Right.
didn't
Yeah.
know, it was still a month away from when I had heart problems, but just didn't know why I was struggling so much with Zach's. Well, besides having pneumonia, but
Yeah.
and I kept thinking about that this year. It's like, my God, the fact that I even got out of there with any meat or helping Zach from where we hunted with pneumonia was, pretty good to be able to do that, I guess. But no, I didn't have. I always want to kill something big, but I also want to fill my freezer, and
I'm same way.
it's
Yeah.
so many times I go in there and I pass up all these elk with a bow, and then I shoot a spike with a gun. And I
Yeah.
just like this year, I was like, I want to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister's gonna have a baby here at the beginning of October, and I plan on trying to go there. When I get off of work in October, which will be right around gun season. So that was another factor, but you know, Dad's 67. There's only so many more of those. This moment, it was the moment, it was the call in. And, it was just that moment drove me to take the shot that I
And it's a
did.
really good hunt. I mean, I'll say this like with mine, he snuck in, backdoored. Dad didn't even know I was going to shoot until I was about to shoot, So like it's kind of a difference. Like this last year I killed a couple turkeys. One came in on a string, he was hammering. We both saw him. He was, strutting this and that. The other one was like it was a rainy morning. A bunch of them like there's different experiences, I guess what I'm saying. We talked about this with whitetail too. Like you shot that whitetail and it wasn't a booner, but you said, hey, it was an exciting hunt. We're hunters. We're not out killing booners of everything every year. It's impossible. So I understand what you're saying. I was just asking, and it sounds like this is a very exciting hunt. I mean, you've heard probably 100 bugles at this point, and you got one
Yeah,
coming in on a string now.
yeah. I mean, it was perfect timing. I listened to Corey Jacobson, and I kept telling Dad about that because he was saying that September 22nd was like the top breeding day because it was the fall. Was that the fall equinox? I think is when the daylight hours match the dark hours, and that happened, and that's when breeding is at its highest point. And just this year fell later in September, and the moon phase fell with that timing also. So it was supposed to be really good between the 18th through like the 4 days before and 4 days after be the highest breeding time for the elk. And I mean, it was spot on because I drove up home on the 18th, I think it was, or drove down there on the 18th. I believe I killed on the 19th, and I'm sure they're still going crazy. It was a very good weekend in Wyoming. Zach's, I've been hearing he's in hunting in Colorado, and I don't know if it's pressure or what, but they haven't heard a lot of bugles. It's been hot. Hoping he gets done here in the next day or so.
Yeah.
You get back on mine, like I said, there's an elk coming up the hill, and I can see its legs, and this thing's gonna come right to me. Dad can't see this. I don't even know if he heard that because there's still elk bugling, but this elk isn't the one that's bugling at the moment. I've got a bull bugling to my left, and this bull's coming head on, and it gets up there, and I see its head, and it's a spike. I'm like, this bull's coming in with this spike or something, and I'm thinking this spike's going to get up and get behind me and smell me and blow this all up. And he comes by 10 yards. I mean, 10 yards, takes a step to where he's got his shoulder out and looking the other way, broadside of 10 yards. And I'm like, my goodness, could have shot it with a recurve all day long. But he did. It was funny because he was standing there at 10 yards, and I didn't take, video camera. It's too hard when I'm like that, where I got a caller. If you had a third person, you could do it. But I just thought, I'll use my tac cam. Well, I didn't charge it, and it ran out right as the spike came up. So I was scrambling and was messing around with my phone. I stuck my phone in like my arrows on the quiver like this and was recording. So I got that. I did get the spike coming in. I've got a ton of footage where you can't see no elk, but you're hearing screaming and chuckles and raking and everything. And that spike, when he was at 10 yards, I felt the wind hit my neck as I was looking at him. And you should have seen him, man. His eyes just got huge and his nose went up, and he spun out of there. And when he was running down the hill, I swear that he tripped and did a somersault. And he was like rolling around on the ground about 30 yards. And I was like, I did not shoot you. Like, get up, But I was laughing about it. And he just started eating again. After he fell, he got up and started eating. Like, he had no clue what was going on. He smelled something he shouldn't have. It scared him, but he didn't go very far. And then, Dad kept calling because Dad didn't know if I had shot or what, hearing it run off.
Yeah.
And then right there, the big bull, or one of the bulls, I don't know, it could have been the one I shot. He has got to be within 40 yards of me. And he's going nuts, but he will not crest this little rise. And so he bugles, and next thing I know, he's 100 yards away. I finally get Dad's attention, and I was like, we need to go down, and we moved down the hill, probably another 100 yards, and I'm still in open country. And I don't know if that bull had come up and maybe the big bull ran him off. I don't really know what happened there because he was about to pop out and then he left. And we moved down, and this is all, the spike comes in, and it's probably only 10 minutes maybe. I moved down the hill, and Dad's staying that 50, 75 yards. And I think he rakes at that point in time, and I can hear a bull raking down the hill. He's bugling, and I can hear him raking because at first I thought they were running off, and you realize he's just tearing up a tree. I cow called and moved about 20 yards, and Dad bugled, and that set this one off. And he answered multiple times, and I seen him come up, seen the horns, and at that point I was like, I don't know. I could see that he was what he was. I knew he was just, something like what we usually kill down there, a 4-point or a 5-point. But he comes out in the open and he screams right there. So that was pretty cool. About 40, 50 yards, so I got to watch him bugle in my face. And he's coming head on. And I'm like, I told myself if he comes in frontal, I'm going to pass him. I'm not going to take this shot. But something I've been trying to do to get better at, because I've had a lot of it end up frontal all the time, is I'm trying to move to the right of wherever I think this bull is coming, or left, you know. Last year I got Michael set up really well that the bull walked out broadside. This elk's coming and he's about 15 yards and I'm still debating. And I'm leaned up against a tree. I had to at one point adjust my backpack because I'd kind of let it lean on the tree, and I was thinking, man, if I gotta move when he comes up, it may make some noise, you know.
Yeah.
So I kind of stepped up just about 6 inches, and Dad said he saw me do that, saw my backpack move, and that the moment I took that last little step, I saw the bull. Well, when he comes up and I'm debating on where I'm going to shoot, he turns at about 15 yards, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going to walk out at 10 broadside. He turned right, walks behind 2 pine trees. I'm able to draw, and Dad. It was funny because Dad said that he could see my hand, and he said he saw me like. He said it looked like you were cocking the bow because it was your hand went tight and that string got just a little tension on it. And he's like, oh man, he's going to shoot. And as soon as that bull went behind the tree, I got full draw. And I mean, it's open, Eli. Like he walks out and he's about to clear. And I give him the deer grunt.
Yeah.
And thinking, I did it kind of loud too, I guess. But I was thinking that it would take him a foot or two to stop. Man, he stopped, and I hit him. I mean, all my pins are on him. It wasn't over 10 yards. He's kind of downhill just a touch. And I knew I'd smoked him when I released. Arrow never slowed down. I never even saw the arrow. I just saw a hole, you know. And he spun out of there. And like I said, Dad had saw me shoot. He couldn't see the elk. And he bugled as soon as I shot. We always try to do that to get him to slow down. And he took, I don't know, he didn't even go 20 yards, and I could see him standing there, and I just looked back up the hill, and I was like telling Dad, like he's done. And then I heard Dad go nuts with the bugle tube because he actually saw the bull fall too. We both did.
Well, that's awesome.
And yeah, the bull didn't. That was one of the quickest ones, man, I've had. I hit him, and I never was able to find my arrow, Eli, and I would assume that my arrow was farther after it passed through the elk than the elk went from where I shot him.
Must have just
So it was
right between
extreme. Like
all
that.
the ribs too, man. Because
Oh,
usually the rib will slow it down a little bit, but you probably just snuck right in between them all.
And Dad was like, he was laughing at me because of me preaching at you guys about shooting back away from the shoulder. And dude, I was in that V as tight as I could be.
Oh my gosh.
Like it was about where Obendorf hit there last year, on his bull, he'd hit real tight in the V. And I was telling him, I was like, man, if you hit higher than that, you're going to hit that shoulder blade, and it caused some problems.
Yeah.
But it was just because that elk stopped so fast, I had to hold just to the left of this, a couple aspens, small aspens that were there. But yeah, I looked for the arrow for a while, and I was like, man, that thing's downhill because it was crazy. It was real steep right there where he was standing.
Mm-hmm.
But it was funny was the other bull went absolutely nuts after this one ran off. And Dad comes down to me, and I was like, sometimes I don't want to do that because I'm thinking, oh, now the giant's going to step out and I'm just going to be upset,
Yeah.
I told him, I was like, this first day, I was like, keep messing with him. I'm going to go down and try to videotape, get him on film. And he sounded a touch better because he was just chuckling every time, and a couple times sounded pretty gruntle, and I could hear him, just down there, just doing that kind of stuff. And we messed with that bull for 45 minutes after I'd killed mine. I mean, I'd seen it fall, so I wasn't worried about it. And I could hear him raking. He'd bugle, and then he'd rake for 5 minutes, and then he'd bugle. But he was scared. He wasn't the big bull because he never would show himself.
Yeah.
Like I pushed downhill, cow calling, and got probably within about 50 of him, I'd guess. And as soon as I'd get close, he'd move 30, 40 yards and then bugle.
Yeah.
But we just never, I finally gave up on him because I was like, I hadn't shot a elk that early in the afternoon in a really long time. And this is something that Corey Jacobs has always preached about middle of the day. And I'm with him. This is a lot of times we get into elk when they're in their bed right around, that 10 to 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I shot at 1:15 is when I shot that bull.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was pretty sweet. And as I was messing around trying to get pictures um, or a video of this other elk, I'd look downhill to my left and I was like, man, what's that red all over that aspen down there? And it was it was blood. There was about a foot circle of blood on that tree, and I took a picture of it. And I kept messing with this other bull. And when I came back up, I looked back over at that blood, and I realized the elk was right there. I didn't know it when I took the picture. The elk was laying right below that tree. I think he fell over and hit the tree right there.
I got a
So
question for you.
cool.
How old do you think your elk is? Somebody asked me the other day, like,
Three.
that's what I said too. 3.5, I guess, right?
Yes.
3.5 or three. So
You
I'd say
got.
mine was probably the same. Or
Yep. I would
okay,
say ours were in the same age class. Mine. It's funny because I always think about that because like first year you're gonna get that spike. I mean that's what those are. I the calves in that first when a calf is born, they're the same way because they're like a button. I call them a button bull.
right.
They're just like a whitetail, and there'll be a spike. And sometimes you got I've shot spikes that had 6-inch spikes, and I've shot other spikes that had 2 foot long spikes that might have some little kicker points off of it. And then like you saw Jimmy's I'm guessing was it could have been a 3-year old, but I'd say a two. It was a branch antlered bull, or it's just a raghorn. Um, like both yours and mine, yours was a 4.4 or 5,
4x4.
four
Yeah.
by
Same
four.
same last year, and this one was a little bit wider. And he's symmetrical as all get out. He would have, been a nice bull. It's good genetics out there from what I've seen. I think where you are, the genetics can get a little wacky. I've seen sometimes.
I we used to think that, because I used to blame it on that being thick that they messed up their horns going through there, and it's just raghorns, man.
Yeah.
Raghorns look weird. You know, when you not first 3 years, but like the one I shot, he was just straight up 5x5, but not a big one by any
Yeah.
means. He had a 3-year old. They have a nice body size to them.
No,
You
yeah,
know that's
they're pretty
that's
big. I'd say just a touch bigger than a cow. Wouldn't you
yep,
explain it?
yep.
And
That's probably a 180 to 200 pounds, probably deboned is what you're getting off of those.
I looked at it and it was 177 and a half on my ticket.
So
Um,
pretty close to what I said there.
So yeah,
So
you're about right. Yeah, and mine was real light colored. Mine was real light colored. Which I know a
yeah,
lot of them are, but mine was over
was
the
yours rutted up pretty hard?
no, no,
Mine stunk. Mine stunk so bad. It
dude. It
definitely
was
did. Pissing
a
all over
weird
yourself.
year out there. It was mine. It was Danny. Hey, I ain't a bad shot. And I don't want to brag, but like, that was one of my best shots in my career as far as like pulling it off. And you know how it is shooting in Elkwood. It's like I had my knees on the tree and not just like at a steady position because this is like 3 or 4 feet up, off the ground. The tree's moving. I'm trying to lean out to get around. And then there's a limb that I have to judge. Hey, is my air going to go over it? And just like, it wasn't like I was taking a Hail Mary, but I definitely had to stop and like, it was tough. I had to gain my balance, so
Yeah.
it wasn't a 10-yard shot like like yours.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to make it. I mean, you can mess up at 10 yards. I've seen it done a ton, but um, it's also pretty. I mean, like you said, your whole sight housing is right there where you're aiming
Yeah.
at 10 yards on an elk.
And I mean,
Um,
people have listened, but you were using the Mega Meats, using a new Matthews bow, and
yeah, that was my
2K
first
Taylor.
kill with the XD or lift LD, whatever it's called, the long draw bow. Yeah, that was the first animal with it, and I really wanted to see the arrow in the broadhead, but they may still be going down the mountain. I don't know.
Yeah.
That bow smoked through that elk.
Oh, good, man. That's a good feeling.
Yeah, I was looking there. I looked close. I looked 30 yards down the hill. It's hard to tell how far that arrow went. Only thing I told Dad, I was like, "Oh, we can come back tonight in the dark. We can probably find my knock." you know.
Yeah, because
But
you run light. You run light knocks, don't
mm-hmm.
you? Okay.
That was the thing that got me is, this is just 20 feet per second faster than I've ever shot. I never saw the knock. I did not see it. You heard the pop on his chest,
Yeah.
when I hit the chest cavity for sure on that shot. Dad heard it and he said he don't usually hear that, but he's like, he could tell that I'd smoked it. And uh, we got to it, got some pictures. I was excited about it. I always love being with Dad when I get those. And I told him, I was like, when the bull was coming, I had told myself if he comes frontal, I'm gonna pass him. I didn't want to. I don't have anything against frontal shot. I've done it. It's successful, but I've also messed it up a time or two, and it was my fault. I'd done it. The elk wasn't full frontal when I took the shot. It not being a big bull, I was just like, that was my reasoning that I was going to pass it. But I thought once it turned broadside, it was on the side of the mountain that we were on was on the right side for packing out. It was closer to the truck, and I thought it would be better getting it elk out. And I joked with Dad saying, I was like, I passed that spike, and he didn't say anything when I was like, if I'd have passed a branch antlered bull with my dad there, he would kick me.
Yeah.
But one of these days I'll hold out and wait. It's a little easier for me to hold out when I have like an extra cow tag to make sure that I've fulfilled the freezer, because I definitely want an elk every year. And last year was just a weird year because I did pass up multiple elk with a bow and just didn't end up, because of being sick, I didn't get to hunt any really with a gun. But work started after that. I think we probably got on the bull around 2:30. Took pictures, and it was probably 3 when we started.
Did your dad have
And
his swing blade cutting edge knife?
mm-hmm.
Dude, I
Yeah,
swear, all right, and I know you like MKC, and for everybody out there, that knife is the fastest and best. We just talked about the size, yours about the same. Dude, mine was still sharp. I used that knife the whole time. Dad never broke his out. And with that swing blade, it's so freaking fast and saves, your regular blade. Um, Gosh, it does a good job, man. Like for what is it, $60, $70 knife. I highly recommend it. It's blue collar. It's awesome.
yeah. I mean, I've got one somewhere. I've used it before. Um, I kind of switch up knives a little bit every once in a while. I actually used my MKC, and it's not a knife I usually carry in Elkwoods because it's heavy. And I happened to look in the truck that morning, and I had I think I've showed you, and you can see it when I'm up in North Dakota. I have it on the shelf in the background, but I had that leather case made that said Madcore on it.
Yeah, you showed me that.
I threw it in the pack, and so I cleaned that elk with that knife. So
That's
that was
cool.
cool. Yeah, I wanted to do it. I mean, it's just heavier. That's the only reason I don't usually take it with me.
I had a
Um,
Benchmade Steep Country. It's real lightweight, great knife, but I just never need to break it out. I like to have two blades. I'll carry the weight, and I don't know. I'm impressed with that knife. I know
yeah,
it's no $300 MKC, but I bet. Of course, I'm not the fastest, but if I compared the two, I would be faster with that swing blade. It's just, I don't
yeah.
know, it works.
If people don't know, I think that's the actual name of the knife is Outdoor Edge Sling Blade. It's got the replaceable blade knife as one side of it, and then that I don't know what you call that blade.
Mine's just a solid blade, so it's just picture if you open it up,
So it
there's
don't have another type of knife on it. It's just that what you call the sling blade.
yeah, it doesn't have where you can replace the blade. It's one solid blade. So when you
Okay,
close it, the caping knife comes out, or the basically it's not a gut hook, but it's a makeshift for skinning underneath the hide. And then when you close that portion, it's a regular knife. And I swear it's the right
okay.
size. I mean, I
Yeah, that is Dad had that one because he was telling the story about cleaning. He had that knife, and we'd killed an elk there in Wyoming. I don't know who had killed it, but he had that knife out using it, and you guys all seen that knife, and it was in 2018 because when you they came over to help me sheep hunt that year when I killed my bighorn sheep, and he said they went in a store and everybody that was with Dad bought that sling blade knife that
so
year
just
in
for everybody
18.
to look, I swear, man, this thing works. So you have, nice knife here, and then there's a button right here, and you can push it with leather gloves. You push that button, and get myself. This comes out, and then you lock that open, and you can go right up underneath the hide. I mean, it's a little bit of a heavier knife. It's orange handled. I don't know. Not We're not sponsored or anything, but this is a fast knife for not that much money. Because
Should be sponsored by Outdoor Edge. As many animals I've cleaned with their dang razor blades,
I know
and
I used to
I
do it too. Yeah, shout out
I
to
mean
Outdoor
that's
Edge
what
sponsor us.
I used my I used that MKC for most of the quarters and stuff, but I was not happy because I don't like skull capping animals anymore. I used to do that all the time, and now I pretty much Euro everything. So unfortunately, I had to pack out the whole head. But I did use my razor knife with the replaceable blades to pull the lower jaw to lose some weight on the skull
Yeah.
when I brought it. So I got most of the hide off and took the lower jaw off. But no, I tried out some new bags. I think I told you that I'd got the Born and Raised.
How'd
They
you like
zip
them?
open. They're
Okay.
good. I tore one up, but I can't. Basically, is we dropped a I dropped a quarter worth of meat. We hung it in a aspen that was tucked into some pine trees, and we had hung. Okay, so we deboned both hinds, and I hung both front quarters because I'll leave them solid so that we can debone them the next morning when we come in. So while they're hanging, you can sit there and debone them instead of doing it right on the elk. Because I don't like to hang if I can avoid hanging like a full deboned rump. I will, as far as the deboned meat, just because I feel like you got to get that bag, get into it, and mix that meat up. You can have problems. It wasn't that cold where we were. I mean,
No,
it
yeah.
was 45 at night, I think, and hitting 70s by the day. So it was a lot warmer than what you guys were dealing with. I wasn't worried about it that night so much. But anyway, that's what we did. We hung two front quarters, and I think I had a pretty good bag of just like burger meat, neck meat. And yeah, I think that's wrong. I don't know. Anyway, we hung a good half of the elk there that night.
Yeah.
But anyway, with that Born and Raised bag, we threw it up, threw a stick over a limb, pulled it up, had it up there, and getting ready to tie it off. The dang limb broke, and the bag fell out with about 50 pounds in it and hit the tree, and it tore at the zipper. So I mean, I can't blame that on
Gosh.
the bag. That
You'll tear
was
anything up, man.
yeah. But I will. I mean, that was just because Dad looked at me and he's like, I don't think that was the bag's fault. And I was like, no, I can't
Yeah.
blame it on that. And I also had the Kuyu bags. I really liked I brought them up the next day because of that bag tearing and stuff. But I had several of their debone bags, and they have a zipper on them, and they're like long and narrow, so you can kind of make it like a briefcase full of meat. Wise, they're
Hmm.
just a little nicer for being able to put, so that you can have one lower or one higher in your pack. You can kind of manage them a little better than just a big ball of meat.
There's a
Um,
lot of good ones, but man, yeah, I would like to upgrade to Kuyu. I've got the Black Ovis, but it was a 5 bag set. So we had a spare set of Caribou gear, which is a good brand because Dad he got some go hunts this year, and I robbed one of the small bags off the caribou gear because it's the same thing pretty much. So now I had that equal weight distributed, and it's a full set. I mean, it works. You could get lighter, you could get better like the Kuyus, but they're
The
good
other
bags.
the other thing that I really liked was I think I'd mentioned this on gear was the caribou gear had two different tarps, and I had their little packable lightweight tarp. It's about 4 foot by 4 foot maybe, and it came some aluminum pins, to stick it in the ground. And the whole elk, we could take those quarters off, throw them on there, and it dries out real quick. And it actually saved me because with that bag tore, I only had 4 quarters, and I had 4 quarter bags and two other smaller bags for hamburger. I had them full because we had all the neck meat, all the meat off the ribs, everything, brisket. And when that bag tore, I was like, what am I going to do? Because they had a good hole in it. And I was like, I ain't going to be able to hang it. And I thought about that tarp, and I used that tarp to wrap that bag up in the 4 corners and was able to basically make another game bag out of it and hang that meat. Because I started out real heavy, and this is something I usually try to do is, take as much downhill as I can. I don't want to make more trips uphill than I have to. And when we started out, that we were in light, it wasn't going to get dark on us until after we got out of the mountain anyway. Dad had a smaller pack, but he probably still had 50 pounds, I'd say, of meat. He's still doing pretty good. He's doing 67, and
Yeah.
he thought that he had at least as much meat as he did last year and stuff. And we had our walking sticks, and I'm telling you, it's a game changer using those things when you're packing out.
Which ones did you buy? I forget.
I've got the Peaks. Dad just had, I don't even know what the brand name was. He had a
Yeah,
cheaper set, but
I've heard
any
good
of them
things
work
about
pretty
Peaks.
well.
No, yeah, I think Durston's my tent. I think Durston makes like the lightest set, and I thought about looking into those, even though we don't.
They're
I really wouldn't have needed them this year, but maybe someday. There's different trips, Alaska, this and that.
they're a difference maker, man. I didn't know that, and I just started using them last year. I didn't use it walking in. Um, Dad did. He only took one for some reason that first day, and by midday he had a stick in the other hand. You know what I mean? That he used the whole time because
Yeah,
it was basically just like his walking stick. But he came out with about 50 pounds that night. I don't even remember what he had because I wanted to take all the loins out. I don't like leaving those on the mountain because the bear. I'm telling you, we've had it happen. A bear got in a cooler, moved bags out of the way to find the inside loins. That was the one bag that he got after. And it's like they know what the good piece is. And we were worried about bear in that spot there. There's a lot of black bear in that area. So we made sure to hang everything probably 15 foot up. And I had a deboned hind quarter, and I think all the loins that night. And maybe Dad just had loose meat or something. And I probably had, man, when I started out, I was probably 100 pounds with my pack because I had a big pack going in. I tell you, I always lighten up as time goes on, but I had extra uh, shirt, and I even took thermal bottoms with me because I thought, well, maybe I'll get cold when I'm up there. I didn't want them walking in that morning, and didn't need any of that crap. But it was a good thing I took extra food for Dad, and that all worked out.
yeah,
But I think I end up leaving. I put the pack on, and I was like, man, this is gonna be a lot. So I end up taking about 15 pounds out there and put it in that burger bag, and then we started downhill, and I really didn't know what to expect because that area is just thick. And we got through about 300, 400 yards down the mountain, and it was not too bad. We started getting in some deadfall, and I hit an old trail that I feel like I had been on before. And we were debating on where we were going to come out. We had an idea. I'd looked at OnX on where I thought I could come out. And this trail started cutting the other direction. I was like, Dad, I don't know about this. This is something I was in here last year, and where this trail is going, it is not good. It's real bad deadfall. But as we got on this trail, we realized that it was an old horse trail or something. Somebody had cut it years ago. There's still a lot of deadfall on it. Dude, it was a cakewalk getting out. I mean, there were spots where the deadfall had failed, but the animals had used this trail so much that you could follow where the elk went around these deadfalls. And it was actually one of the better pack outs I've had off that mountain.
That's good because it can get rough, man. It can get
Yeah.
rough.
I was highly surprised. Let me say I got it marked now because
Yeah.
that was a nice place for sure.
So one day I'll
We
have to
got
get
down.
some points from you.
Yeah, we got down. I don't remember what time we left up there because we didn't get in no hurry. We took our time and made sure we done a good job with cutting it up and everything. But we got down to the bottom about 6:30, and that wasn't too bad. But you know how it is walking across that dang flat down there, and I end up taking another chunk out of my bag, another 15 pounds or so, and hung it down there because I was thinking we were going to have 2 loads the next day for us. Because I mean, Obendorf's, we had 3 people packed out 1 load, and then the next day went back in with 4 and packed it out. So I was thinking we're going to have 3 loads, but Dad didn't drop anything. I just dropped that little bit, thinking I could maybe grab it the next day on the first load. But anyway, we started across the prairie, and it's a mile and a half. We call it a flat, but it's like when you get within about a half mile of truck, it just starts up. And it's not bad up, but it is up. And you don't notice it so much when you're on the horse or mules, but it definitely is there when you're walking out with a little bit of weight. But the crazy thing, there was no stars, no moon. It was the darkest I've ever seen it there. And it was like multiple times I had to pull out the phone in that flat, like, where am I? Because it was like I got the parallel in this old 2-track, and we kept thinking we should be hitting it, and we never did. But it felt like it took 2 days to get out there that night because it was so pitch black and it was uphill there. But no, we got back. I think we got back to camp 10:30 that night. So it was a long, hard day. I mean, we'd put on several miles before I killed you.
Yeah. No, it's never easy, man. And I remember riding back up after going into town to take my meat in, and it's 6 miles. Like, oh, 6 miles on a mule. I mean, dude, it just went on and on. And I ran into a guy, a couple guys on the trail. I get to BS, and this and that. It's like, golly, it's like, you think in the car 6 miles, take your exit, and out there, you're going up and down. You don't always go in a straight line, so you got to add some mileage to it, and you had 100 pounds on your back, so I definitely understand.
That day there was not we never saw a person in the parking lot on the mountain. Never saw a person there whatsoever.
Well, good for
Um,
you. Good for you.
yeah, it was pretty slick. We got back to camp, and usually celebrate a little bit. We both like barely made it out of the truck that night because I was like, I can fall asleep sitting here. We didn't even eat dinner. We literally drank. I think Dad said he drank 4 bottles of water when he got back just to stay hydrated. Because he had water with him when he was on there, but we didn't eat anything. We'd ate all the food I had. Before we
You
did that
guys
last
probably
mile
should
and a
have
half.
ate to fuel your body. You still need that sodium and carbohydrates and such. Did you eat a good
And I
breakfast
drank.
before the next day?
Oh yeah, I drank some hydration,
Okay, good.
stuff when we got back. I had what are those? I had a
Horse
Powerade, but I had also I tried some of
Equalizer.
that liquid IV also.
It ain't bad.
No, it's got a pretty good flavor. I think they got a little more sugar or something in them than the other ones, but it helped. You can definitely taste the salt in that one though.
Yeah.
But I did that. I had major cramps that night, which is this is something I deal with every time that I do anything like that. I get cramps from hanging in a saddle and stuff on my legs. I don't know why, but everybody's like, drink more water. I was like, I drink a lot. That is just it's just the way my body is. But I did tell Dad, I was like, our bodies have to hate us because it's like go from doing nothing to what are you doing, when you pack out an elk.
Yeah.
And obviously right then and there, it's like, I want to be more like you and, get myself in shape before this happens. But hunting season is usually me getting in shape. So.
You still got to do it though. I mean, even with no weight on my back, I had to walk, spec kind of up and then down. I mean, it still sucks. This year my ankle, I didn't get a blister, but it's like I got a blister on my bone, like kind of
Really?
like that heel area, like where everybody gets a blister. And even yesterday, it was still killing me. It was like I had a bone spur or something. It's still not healed. It's like I've bruised. It's like I think I had those Solomons too tight, and it didn't. You're supposed to have just a little bit of slippage. It's like I didn't have any, and it was just taking my skin and pushing it back and forth, and I think it like disconnected it from. I don't know. It was the weirdest thing ever, but I think you can over secure like your heel in a sense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's a different story, man. When you put weight on and start going downhill and things, that you really find out about your feet. Like, I mean, just a weird item, but Dad thought he had something in his shoe. Well, he found out after packing out that night. He's like, I just need to cut my toenail. That's just, I mean, just something simple like that.
yeah.
It felt, he didn't feel it walking on flat ground or walking in when we were hiking. It was only when he had weight and was coming out.
Well, I'll be the first to
So,
admit I did not train this year for elk hunting like I had in the past. I had trained so much for that Ironman that I had started to pack. Then I got sick. I was sick for like a week and a half before we went out there, and I was going to get a lot of hikes in and gear myself up, and then I ended up not doing anything and probably losing some muscle. So, just because you're like say I was in good running shape or whatever doesn't mean I was in elk, out west shape. There's a difference. You need to try to adapt your body to what you're going to see out there. If you're going to carry 40 pounds in your pack, you better walk around with 40 or 50 with the same boots,
yeah.
same socks, um, as you're going to use out there.
Yeah, the next day we didn't get up real early. Slept in. It was a rough night. I didn't sleep very well because I was dealing with those cramps. Um, but anyway, had a big breakfast and got geared up. And I tore everything out of my pack. I only took water and a little bit of food, and I think I threw in a couple of those Kuyu bags to help with that one that was busted, and had a knife and some rope in there. And Dad he switched to a frame pack. It was an older Alaskan. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the I'm drawing a blank on the name of that pack, but anyway, we went back in as light as we could, and it wasn't too bad going in, and found that trail, went up it, and it was we were kicking little stuff out of the way and everything, making that trail a little nicer. Did a little pruning as I went up it too, just to make it a little easier to get out and
Yeah.
everything. And um, we got up there and spent about an hour up there. We deboned those two quarters I had hanging. Nothing had been in there at all, messing with anything. And I come out, I had the other hind quarter, that big bag of burger, and my head when I came out, and Dad had both the front quarters deboned when he came out that day. That it wasn't bad. I knew I was a little heavier coming down the hill, I think, than I was the night before. And when we got to the bottom, Dad was offering, and I was like, no. I grabbed that other bag that I'd hung down at the bottom by the where you get into the flat there. And so I was a little heavier. I probably was right around 85 pounds to 100, I think, when I came out that night, or that day, I guess, the next day. This was because I killed on Friday, so this is Saturday. And it was, it seemed a lot quicker coming out in the daylight on the flat than being
Yep.
in the dark from the night before.
It's
So
kind of it's a boring flat too. There ain't
yeah,
much to.
we were, there was no, or there was they were in there moving cattle when we went in to get the second load, and when we came out, there was two trucks in that parking lot. and they were from the Casper area that I was from. Was one of the plates. I don't remember what the other one was. I was wondering if I knew anybody, and I didn't really recognize the trucks or anything. And we got out of there about an hour or so before dark. And the funny thing is, my buddy Jim Holder um, ended up down in the same area, and we must have missed each other by a half hour because he killed. I found out he killed the next day because we packed up camp the next morning, and I found out about. I was already to like Medicine Bow area when I got the text that he had killed. I didn't know where, but it was just funny to find out later that he killed down there in the same area, and he killed probably a year older bull. It was a pretty nice 5x5, and had the same experience. He was walking in and happened to hear a bugle, and this bull was down in the flats, dude, and he made a couple cow calls, and it come flying from like 500-600 yards away, come running over to him, came right in. I don't even remember. I think like a 30-yard shot, drilled it, and then it fell within sight. He's a beast. He packed that thing out in 2 packs, man, by himself.
Yeah, that guy's a killer, man. I've not
Yeah,
really met him, but only heard stories. But I guess the Madcore group, man, we've been pretty successful, very blessed this year. I
yeah,
mean, it started with Jimmy, and then Corey had killed when we went out there, and then I killed, and then now you've killed, and then you've got some other friends, and you just mentioned
yeah.
Jim. So
I killed, Jimmy killed. I think I told you that I'd met a guy just through selling something on Facebook Marketplace. We sit there and talk for a while. Anyway, I ended up giving him one of the hats and wanted to hook back up with him. He's in North Dakota because he was a big time bird hunter. But I don't remember if he told me or not, but he sent me pictures. He went over to Montana the first time I think he'd ever drew Montana on General Elk and killed a 6 point bull. I'll probably post some stuff here when I get done with this little hunting week or so. Um, I need to post some pictures because he sent me some pictures and he's wearing the Madcore. I'm trying to find that dang text. His name was Kent Slaughter, and he killed a real nice bull in
yeah, you sent me a
Montana.
picture. Congratulations if he's listening.
Yeah, and then my buddy John up in North Dakota that's been hunting that big bull. I still don't have a great picture of it. He killed it.
What was it?
I, I
360, you said?
I don't know, what it scored, but he was thinking in that area, 360, 370,
Gosh,
maybe
that's
more. I
huge,
don't
man.
know. It's a big bull,
That's awesome. Well,
but it looked like he
congrats to
made
him.
it. Yeah, it looked like he made a great shot. I've been on him. I got that text. I don't know when I came back from Elk, so I was just gonna wait till I got up there to hear that story. He's been
Right
on it
on.
for a while, but yeah, everybody's out. My son-in-law Corbin did. He ended up going that weekend that I couldn't go. He didn't act like he was going to, and he went out to his area and by himself, and I found out he shot a bull. He killed a nice. I don't remember. I think it was either a good 5x5 or a smaller 6. Wasn't anything too crazy, but he'd never killed with a bow, and he's just like, I got a little trigger happy. They were rutting like crazy, man. And I hopefully will find out the story here tonight or in the next couple of days. But yeah, he'd called in a buddy to help him get it out the next day. I think he killed Saturday, maybe it was, and got it
Okay.
out Sunday.
And
So,
you
and
guys were
I'm
into
going.
it. It was definitely turned on.
I'm going with my buddy Jason Short here probably Saturday and Sunday this weekend. He's got a primo tag, and we're gonna go try to get a weekend with Bo and see if maybe we can get a herd bull out of there.
Well, good, man. Well, good luck to him. Good luck to you, antelope hunting. Happy birthday. I don't want to take too
Yeah,
much of your
thank you.
time. I know you're which I already texted you today, but have fun tonight. Appreciate you guys coming on. Congratulations again. It's a great hunt. You got to do it with your dad, which is always special, and
Yeah,
it'll be a
we
good eat, man. It's a good eating size.
yeah we had a great time, and it sounded like you had the same experience. Besides you both being sick, I told your dad that he was going to have to start quarantining you about a month before you guys go elk hunting because you've been sick a few different times in September.
Dude, I don't know what it is. And like, I
Just
hadn't
luck,
been
man.
sick since December, and I just said that. And by gosh, and I even got something. I don't know, but I persevere through it every time. So
Yeah,
I guess
it makes it
nothing's.
a lot tougher when you're sick.
Gosh, it does, dude. It's where we go, man. It is hard. I know where you goes, it's a different type of hard, but it's hard out there. But that's why we do it.
That elevation you guys are at would be very tough. It just, I've only been up and around that 11,000 foot one time, and it wasn't fun. Any kind of walking you do, you feel it, man.
Yeah, if you bend over, I mean, several times I'll bend over, like put a tent stake in. I'll
Get
stand up and I'll
lightheaded.
just be like, you don't see stars or get like lightheaded, but you just like you have to gather yourself. So
Yeah, because
there's just
like
not as much oxygen in your blood, is what that is. But
yeah, I probably killed it, somewhere around 8,500. No, didn't look at that, but that would be my guess.
right on, man. Well, congratulations. Any other updates with the website? I mean, I don't know. Keep following us, guys.
No,
I
I
will
didn't.
say that looking at the analytics of the podcast on YouTube, and I'm trying to get everything together. Man, we're really growing listener wise. So we appreciate everybody out there listening. I've had a couple people reach out. Buddy from Pennsylvania reached out, and he's got a good podcast idea for us, and or at least something to mention on the podcast. So
Right
appreciate
on.
you guys, and hit us up with any questions you have. And then Danny, what were you gonna say?
I was just saying, yeah, I hadn't had any hat orders in a while, and I didn't worry too much about it with it going elk hunting. And I actually had one come through while I was down at elk camp, and I was like, "Hey, man, um, it's going to be delayed about a week and a half." I was like, "I'm out of the office. I'm currently hunting." So
Yeah. Well,
he did wish me good luck. So yeah, I
okay.
did score. So, but I told him it'd just be delayed until I could get back up there. I'd
Yeah.
get it in the mail on October 1st. So
Yeah. Appreciate you guys. And yeah, this is going to be the busy season. I'm going to get some made for, me locally. That way, if we run into that, maybe I can just meet up with you or something in my travels.
are
All
you
right,
hunting
guys.
any
Am I going to?
here
Yes.
next week or so?
I may try to slip over to Kentucky. It got warm here, so I'm not as
Hey,
concerned. I'm trying to spend some time with the family. I've been gone and get that, pay my dues in a sense, and then I'm going to hit it hard.
I did want to mention some bad news was I talked to a guy that's got a farm down in your area and a ton of EHD. I saw pics,
Yeah.
two dead deer, two dead deer, and had three others that were skin and bones. Man,
I haven't
big
heard
big
the.
deer that were going down.
I've heard. I've been watching the map. The county that I live in's been getting hit, but most of my spots in another county it had a zero by it, and I haven't seen anything. And I've got a. I sent you. I've got a good one on camera, and he's been showing up every night. He looks healthy, so
Okay,
that is a
good.
positive. But yeah, anybody who's going through that, I mean, we've been through it. We're all going to go through it again, probably. So is
Yeah,
what it is. So I appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week. And thanks, Danny.
good luck out there.
Yep.